light of mine almost burned me alive. Lord knows that mama tried, and I don't know if I'm halfway to heaven or halfway to hell. My angels and demons at war with myself. One foot in the fire and I still can't tell. Am I halfway to heaven, halfway to heaven or hell? I'm a die by Sunday sun, holy water with my bourbon. Standing on the bridge, I'm burning with a can of gasoline. I'm a trailer park tornado, jagged edges on my halo. Hope the chariot gon' swing low, carry me away. Halfway to heaven or halfway to hell. My angels and demons at war with myself. One foot in the fire and I still can't tell. Am I halfway to heaven, halfway to heaven or hell? Light of mine almost burned me alive. Lord knows that mama tried, and I don't know if I'm halfway to heaven or halfway to hell. My angels and demons at war with myself. I'm halfway to heaven or halfway to hell. My angels and demons at war with myself. One foot in the fire and I still can't tell. Am I halfway to heaven, halfway to heaven or hell? Halfway to heaven or hell? Halfway to heaven or hell?
Good morning, Real Life. My name is Lynette, and I work here at Real Life, and we are reporting live today in Kyle's office at the Lake Chelan Community Center, and you're watching The Real. Yesterday, 34 teens and adults left for a week-long missions trip to the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. Join us this week as we pray for their safety and growth during their trip. And we invite you to join us on July 7th when we get to hear about how their week up north went. This is your real life reminder to stay in rhythm. As a church, we are committed to the rhythms of real life. Learn, invest, follow, and engage. So let's focus on our follow rhythm. What does it mean to follow? It means to align your daily life in such a way that you consistently practice the way of Jesus in your real life. This can look like experimenting with prayer, fasting, Sabbath, generosity, and many other disciplines that focus on the collective and individual health of our church and community. And check out the app to learn more. We have so many different places that you can serve at Real Life, whether in Chelan or Brewster. We have our Real Impact team, we have our Connection team, the Groups team, the Real Kids team, the Real Tech team. So if you have any questions about how to join those teams, please stop by our Connection table after service or join one today by visiting the app. Okay, friends, that's a wrap. My name is Lynette. We're so glad you're here this morning, and thanks for watching The Real.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Kyle. I work here, and Real Life exists to help people who are far from God or who feel far from God and help them find real life in Christ. So that's what we attempt to do, not just every Sunday, but every day. Thanks for being here. Happy Father's Day to you all. Fathers, we got a special gift for you. Let's just all be really honest, all right? Women, you don't have to be honest, but men, we will. The world doesn't care about Father's Day. Who's with me, guys? Mother's Day, like if you come to church on Mother's Day, it's like how great moms are, and they've nurtured us to be the people we are. When you come to church on Father's Day, you get like, dads, you are bad, and you need to do better. Who's with me there? All right. That's the whole sermon, so you can leave it. Listen, if you're showed up at church, if you've got kids, if you've raised kids, thanks, dads, for doing that. So to say thank you for all you've done, we got a little gift for you. I think like the second and third graders are handing out the gift afterwards, so it might be a free-for-all, but it'll be fun. So if you're a dad of any sort, make sure you pick up your gift when you leave here this morning. We would love for that to happen. We sent off the mission trip kids. I say this every year. No news is good news from the mission trip, okay? Moms, if you're not hearing anything, that's good, all right? If we get news, if Graham calls me, there's a problem, all right? One of the kids got swallowed by an orca whale or something like that, all right? That's never happened. But they made it. They're safe. Everything's good. So there you go. Got big news I'm going to share. We got to wait for Brewster to join us. Got big news. I'm going to, really, really fun news I'm going to share with you. And last but not least, again, we really appreciate you. Dads. And so in honor of you and all you've done, we got a little video to share with you.
This one is for the fathers and all the father figures, stepfathers, grandfathers, godfathers. Whether by blood or by choice, we give voice to our gratitude for the fathers, the heroes, the mentors and anchors, the coaches and counselors, teachers and trainers, the men who shape us and show us the definition of faithful and strong and wise. The fathers, always by our side, with us and for us, steady and courageous, ready to inspire and encourage and give us a word of wisdom, a voice of reason in season and out. There is no doubt where their strength comes from, what their hope is set on, who their eyes are fixed on. The fathers, the embodiment of legacy, humility, integrity, needed and necessary, dependable and trustworthy. The fathers, the men who lead and love and believe in us even when we don't. The fathers, the men who nurture and point us toward purpose, almost bigger than life, but always down to earth. The fathers, the men who give guidance, direction, and keep everything in perspective, making room for us to grow. We may never know the prayers, the tears, the sacrifices that fathers make on our behalf, yet still find time to play and laugh and rejoice in the day that the Lord has made. The fathers, the heroes, we honor you today.
Please stand and sing with us.
Praise be a weapon that conquers all
opens, you breathe your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
You can be seated.
Some bonus announcements. Yep, I don't know what you paid to get in here. Bonus. Many weeks ago, our friend Jen Harris found her minivan at the business side collision of a semi-truck. And we did not think it was going to turn out as the way it has. In fact, not only is Jen not in the hospital after she was there for weeks, but she got home to see her twins graduate last week, and she's sitting right down here in front where she usually sits. Brewster, thanks for joining us and tuning in. If you're like, who's Jen Harris? Whenever Brewster plays Manson, she's the most obnoxious fan in the crowd. So you know she is. Welcome, Brewster. Welcome if you're online. Thanks for joining us here in Chelan. Listen, last week I said that the men's barbecue was coming up, and the men of Chelan, this was the wording, the men of Chelan were charging the men of Brewster to a cornhole tournament. And if you were with me, you heard me say that that's ridiculous because Chelan has never beaten Brewster in anything, so that challenge is ridiculous. Well, guess who won the cornhole tournament? Brewster, guess who won the cornhole tournament? Travis Todd, your football coach in Brewster, won the tournament. Brewster beat Chelan in the cornhole. It was intense rivalry. There was a little bit of fighting, a little bit. Now, the only thing that makes it a little bit better is Travis Todd from Brewster played with his dad, Bruce Todd, from Chelan. And so it was kind of a Brewster Slam, both won, all right? So it was a nice day, nice event. Thanks for being here. We are in the second week of this series that we're calling What's Under Your Bed. And basically we've said there's stuff that's under the bed. Like when you're a little kid, you go jumping in the bed because there may be a monster under your bed or something that scares you. That there's stuff in our life that maybe no one knows about that we've shoved underneath the bed so no one will find out. Or there's stuff underneath our bed that still scares us, that still bothers us, and we just keep pushing it aside or we don't know what to do with it. So last week, to catch up a little bit, we said, well, how do you know it's a monster? Like, how do you know that thing that's bugging you, that maybe it's daily, maybe it's monthly, maybe whatever it is. How do you know it's a monster? And we said that monsters, the thing that gets our attention and bothers us, are relentless in their persistence. That there is a thought, whether a current thought or a past memory, that just continues to try to defeat you. That when you wake up in the morning, get started with your day, here it comes again. And maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's depression, maybe it's fear. There's lots of different stuff. Maybe it's shame. What is it for you? Like we talked about the old time, only us old people know this, but when we had a vinyl record and we played our records and we put the needle, the arm and the needle on the record and it spun around. After you played Barry Manilow's greatest hits too many times, it gets scratched and stuck and it would just stay stuck. And some of us, our brains, our souls get stuck and we hear the same message over and over and over. They're just relentless in its persistence. But we also said it's relentless in its pervasiveness. Like it just affects us everywhere. And for a lot of us, no one knows about it. So it affects our life. It affects our family's life. We bump into people. It affects them. It ripples out. And again, we're not looking to blame anybody or beat anybody up. It's just, what is it? What would be under your bed that would causing you to struggle? And is there any answers to it? Years ago, right when we were getting ready to start Real Life, so it's about 12, 13 years ago, I was at a community roundtable event, and there was all kinds of different representatives in the community there. And we brought in a couple people from the hospital to talk about mental health. And at that time, it was really striking and shocking. Chelan County had the highest suicide rate in the state. And it was like, it doesn't make any sense. And these mental health professionals were saying, Yeah, we've had some people just in Chelan, Manson area, that have committed suicide in the last few months, and none of the things that we look for that would trigger concern were present. It was just like, what? What happened? No one saw this coming. So it was a really good presentation. I learned a lot. And I didn't want to really, but I kind of like raised my hand and I said, hey, listen, I don't want to get all preachy or whatever, but it is my job. But maybe there's some elements in people's lives that aren't on this list. Maybe there's something deeper. Maybe there's a soul thing. Maybe who we are spiritually. I mean, and I didn't throw the Bible at them, whatever, but I thought maybe there's more than just a loss of job or a breakdown relationship. All those things are tragic. Maybe it's something deeper. Again, old timers, you probably remember the dynamic group from the late 80s, early 90s, the group Extreme. Anybody? Just give me whoop whoop. Anyone? What'd they sing? I dare you to sing it, Brewster. Anyone here? They sang, saying I love you is more than who's with me? Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, happy Father's Day, Dad. That was for you. They also had another hit. The B-side, so to speak, of that record was a song that was called There's a Hole in My Heart. And he's singing it to his lady, and he's saying, there's a hole in my heart that can only be filled by you. Like, he would be complete if he just had this relationship right. And I always remembered growing up, going to camp, whether middle school, high school, and college, I'd hear preachers that represented Jesus talking on a stage like this with a microphone, and they say something like this. Listen, every one of us who's born, we have this God-shaped hole in our life. And the only way to fill that, to feel complete, is to fill that with Jesus. But here's the thing, and I don't want to cause a fight, but those of you that have been going to church a while, or have a relationship, or you would say you're a follower of Jesus, do you still feel empty sometimes? Do you feel like you're missing out on something? I think there's a God-shaped hole in my life, but I don't think until I see him face to face is that going to be filled. Because in the meantime, we live in a broken world, and I'm a broken person. And believe it or not, I'm married to a broken person. I have broken kids. I work on a staff at a church with broken people. So, what would lead us to a place where we could say, okay, I feel full. It's enough. Because there's lots of things that would be under your bed that would scare you. But what I want to talk about today is that feeling that I just feel empty. That I've tried everything. I've done everything. And I still wake up empty. Nothing's worked out. How do you choose the best way forward? Like, what path do you get on? How do you know? And because a lot of us have gone down a certain road in our life, whether relationally or otherwise, and you get to that and like, well, that didn't work out. So you try this one over here and like, oh, I thought this was it. There's this verse stuck in the middle of the Old Testament where King Solomon says, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it just leads to death. And I don't think that's just like, don't do bad things. Or sin looks really good, and if you go down its road, you're going to get into trouble. Okay, that's probably true. I think it's so much more. That there's a way that looks like it's going to pay off and going to be satisfying, and your soul, the God-shaped hole in your soul is going to be filled, and it's all going to be fine. And you head down that road, and it's like, nope, this didn't work out. In fact, it all blew up. It feels like death. So I want to do a tale of two people. I'm going to take two leaders, one from the Old Testament, one from the New Testament. If you're like, I don't even know what that is. I've never been to church. I haven't been to church. Don't worry about it. I'll explain it to you, okay? Two people. I'm going to start with the one you know the most, and that is King Solomon. And we would say that Solomon chose the empty way. He got on a path he thought was going to pay off, and he ended up at the end of his journey, at the end of his life, he ended up empty. The thing that we benefit from is he wrote all that down. Like he journaled along the way. And he got to be a very old man before his death, and he wrote down, looking back on his life, he wrote down his thoughts, and when he got done at the end of his life, he says, I'm empty. And you're like, what? Because if you know anything about Solomon at all, Solomon had it all. Everything. I'm going to run through these really quick. I think they're very interesting, and I'm going to move through them. And some of you are going to say that's not true. And if you disagree with me, that's okay. I know you're paying attention. Like, yeah, you're fun. Okay. But all through the Old Testament, there's verses that back up what I'm about to say. Solomon had it all. Probably one of the smartest guys who ever lived. He asked for wisdom. The Bible refers to him as the smartest guy who ever lived. He wrote 3 books of the Bible. He wrote 3,000 proverbs, 1,000 songs. Take that, Taylor Swift. He was an expert scientist and an expert biologist. People came all over the place just to hear him talk about biology. He was powerful. He was the most powerful king in Israel's history. He ruled in total peace because he was so strong. He was so strong that no one ever challenged him. It's kind of like Fonzie on Happy Days, you know what I'm saying? Fonzie never got in a fight because no one wanted to fight him. Everyone's scared of him. Old people laughter. He ruled in total peace. Third, he was rich. This is the part that messes people up when I use the calculated numbers, all right? But 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles tells us this, that his yearly salary, if you calculate it out, was $2.5 billion. That's not what his net worth, that was his annual salary. People would pay large sums of money to come and hang out with him just to be in his presence. He owned 12,000 horses, 1,400 chariots. 2 Chronicles tells us this, I love this. He was so rich that he made silver and gold as common as rocks. Like he was so rich, like, oh man, there's a big gold nugget. He'd just kick it out of his way because like, I'm not going to lean over and pick that up because I already got too much money. He was famous. Wise men came all over just to listen to him, and they would pay $50 million per visit. You're like, how do you know that? It's the amount of gold that they would give this guy just to hang out with him. He was romantic. Middle schools and high schools say, whoop, whoop. They're all scared. Watch this. College-age kids say, whoop, whoop. Oh, yeah, they're romantic. Here we go. You can argue this. Please do. He was one of the greatest lovers of all time. He had 700 royal wives and 300 common wives. That's a lot of people telling you to take out the garbage. You know what I'm saying? And I say, okay, he was king and he would just capture women and force them to, okay, maybe, I don't know. But we do know, parents of middle schoolers, I apologize right now. He wrote the sex manual for the entire nation of Israel. We call that the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs. Look at all the middle school boys. Give me a Bible. They're like, listen, middle schoolers, there's no pictures. It's just words, so just calm down. Listen, Song of Solomon was so spicy, Jewish boys weren't allowed to read it until they were over 13 years old. You're like, what's in our Bible? Yeah, it is. Read it in a modern translation. PG-13. Finally, he was spiritual. God appeared to him twice. Like showed up and actually talked to him. Of all the people ever that existed, in the Old Testament especially, before Jesus came, God's presence existed in a building, not in each one of his followers. So when it came time to build a temple that represented God and housed the Shekinah glory, the presence of God, Solomon was the guy that was picked to build that. Now, all I'm saying is this. If you were honest with yourself, you would love all these things in place. Smart, powerful, rich, famous, romantic, spiritual, connected with God. That would be fantastic. Solomon, all those things were in place. And this is what he said at the end of his life when he summed it all up. He said, I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my work, and this was the reward for my labor. Look at this. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Solomon feels empty even though he had it all. So the conclusion he gives us in his journal in Ecclesiastes, he says, so at the end of it all, I hated my life. Because the work that is done under the sun every day was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Solomon's conclusion is, I hated my life. And he says, it was grievous. The word grievous there used means depressive. Like all this stuff. And this isn't a talk about rich people are bad, poor people are good, or don't own stuff. That's not what this is all. If you find yourself feeling empty and like it's just not enough, you've walked down these different paths and you thought they were going to pay off and it hasn't, this is for you. Solomon had all the stuff that we would normally think we would want. And he hated his life. He says, maybe you can relate. I can. 3 things real quick. I'm going to move quickly through this. He says, I'm frustrated. I look back at my life and I'm frustrated. Life is useless. It's all useless. You spend your life working, but what do you have to show for it? The world just stays the same. I mean, he was a big deal, big, powerful, and then he's done. I mean, it's so frustrating. You try and you try and you try and you just spin your wheels. He says, I'm so fatigued. I'm so tired. The sun still rises and it still goes down. The wind blows round and round. Everything leads to weariness, a weariness too great for words. You're just tired. I mean, you ask any mom, hey, how you feeling? You go, I'm so tired. It's the last 2 decades we're just running so fast and doing so many things. And you're afraid to slow down because the emptiness would catch up with you. Or when you lay down in your bed, you're afraid that monster is going to come and jump on you. You just don't want to, you're so tired. And finally, Solomon says, I had all this stuff. I was frustrated, I'm fatigued, and just unfulfilled. It didn't work. No matter how much we see, we're never satisfied. You relate to any of this? No matter how much we hear, we're not content. History merely repeats itself. It just goes again and again and again. Now, the cool thing about the Bible is it's a couple steps ahead of mental health and a couple steps ahead of the science of the soul. Because way before we started studying this stuff, Solomon was already on top of it. The reason Solomon feels the way he feels is what scientists and researchers call the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is that thing you get on and you keep running, thinking you're on a new path and a better path, and you just stay in a place that's the same old thing. It's like this happiness time thing. If you look at this chart, is no matter what happens, you pretty much come back to the same place you started from. I'm not a very good scientist, so I'm going to do the best I can here. But like something great happens to you, and you're like, yay, this is really cool. But that wears off, right? And then you come right back down to where you level off. Something bad happens to you and say, oh, that was horrible. But pretty soon, like most things tend to work out, and you're back to level again. That's the hedonic treadmill. Like you think, if I just do this and I keep doing this, or I did this and it made me feel good, so I have to figure out how to make myself feel good again. So we get stuck in this cycle, and again, no shame here, you guys, because we've all been here or are here. That looks like this. You have this desire. You want something. You want to feel better. So you work hard. You strive to do it. You get it. You're like, yeah, this is so much fun. I enjoy this so much. And then you kind of adapt because you can't keep living that way on that high for too long. You're like, well, this kind of faded out. I need Now you desire more, and you get back in the same, you get caught in that cycle. Again, nothing wrong with achievement, with setting goals for yourself, with wanting to do things, financially or relationally or spiritually, whatever that is. But for the most part, we head down roads and directions hoping it's going to pay off and we're going to stay on that high and my God-shaped hole in my heart is going to be filled and I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to feel empty. And we find ourselves like Henry David Thoreau said, some people go fishing all their lives without realizing it's not fish that they're after. Maybe there's something more. Did you know that? Again, you can Google as good as I can. That money can buy happiness. Well, we know that from Gilligan's Island. Mrs. House said, anybody that says money can't buy happiness doesn't know where to shop. Who's with me? All right. But the study of happiness and scientists say that you have to make enough to meet your basic needs. Like someone who makes $5,000 a year is struggling, won't be happy. When you move from $5,000 to $50,000, yeah, you're content. But get this. Again, you don't have to agree with it. When you move from $50,000 to $5 million, there's no difference in happiness. If all your basic needs are covered at $50,000, moving from there to there, you're like, well, I would be so much happier with $100,000. If I had $1 million, I'd be happy. It's just more pressure. It's more things to worry about. It's more nice things to get dented. So the study of happiness says there's not a difference between making $50,000 and making $5 million, $50 million. Your happiness, the hole in your soul, isn't going to be filled any better. So that's Solomon. That's Solomon in the Old Testament. Let me give you one more, and then we'll give you a couple steps and be out of here. Paul's a big deal in the New Testament. Paul was this dude that operated as a Pharisee. He had all the power as a religious person. He had accomplishment and fame. He was very well educated. And he hated people who claimed to be followers of Jesus. So that as a Jewish rabbi, religious person, he had permission to go from town to town, arresting people who called themselves followers of Jesus. Some of the time, he put them in prison. A few times, he oversaw their death. So Paul was a persecutor of Christians, and then he became one. He literally ran into Jesus. Jesus just knocked him on his rear. And Paul says, okay, I've had this wrong. Paul, we would say, and not an empty way, Paul followed the satisfied way. And real quick, let me show you. Paul had it all and then lost it all. His prestige as a Jewish, religious, powerful person, he gave that up. In fact, he said, all right, Jesus, I'm going to follow you. In fact, I'm leaving all this behind. I'm leaving my job behind, and I'm just going to go and do what you call me to do. And he arguably became one of the greatest missionaries, spreading the gospel. The truth of Jesus wouldn't have got spread if Paul hadn't traveled and gone all the places that he did. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, wrote letters back to all these churches that he established. But this is his recollection. Solomon looked back and said, here's all the things I accomplished, and here's how I felt about it. Here's everything that Paul said that happened to him. Once he said, let's go, God, I'm with you. This is what he says. He was beaten numerous times, jailed constantly, whipped 5 times. He would get the 39 lashes. You couldn't give him 40 because you didn't want to go over 40 because it's against the law. So he was whipped 5 times, 39 lashes with the whip. He was stoned. Not the Colorado, state of Washington type of stone. These are rocks, all right? People loved a good stoning, and they would walk around with these rocks in their pocket just waiting. And when they got mad at somebody, they just pick up their rocks. And Paul, that happened a couple times. He says he's in danger. This is his words. He was in danger. 3 shipwrecks. He spent 24 hours in the water. He was in danger from floods, from robbers, from his own people. He was in danger when he was in the city. He was in danger when he was in the country. He's endangered out on the sea. And he was even endangered, he says, by false friends. All that horrible stuff happened to him. And even still, relationally, he had people that stabbed him in the back. He was homeless. He said many, many days he went hungry and thirsty. And you're like, well, that's a ripoff. When he said yes to Jesus, all this stuff that we would never want and wish for anybody happened to him when he stepped out. And this was his conclusion. He said, therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we're wasting away, but inwardly, where our soul is, we are being renewed day by day. For this light and momentary troubles seem bigger than that, though, are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Sometimes we start down a path and it feels difficult or it feels challenging. And we think, oh, this is the wrong path. Years ago, the lovely Darlene and the two little cute Plew girls were on their way to Boise for Christmas, as was our custom. And the roads were snowy and icy, and we were outside of Pendleton, and this car goes passing me. I thought, I think I know that guy. No, couldn't be. He wouldn't be driving that fast on this icy road. Pretty soon I get a phone call. It's my buddy Kevy Cameron. I'm going like 25. He was going like 125, and he just, and he called me, and he was concerned about me. It went something like this. Slowpoke cook. So I just keep driving 10 and 2 and making sure my girls are okay. And he cruises, and by an hour he says, hey, Highway I-84 is shut down. There's a wreck on Ladd Canyon. There's always a wreck on Ladd Canyon, right outside of LeGrand. He said, I talked to my brother-in-law. He says there's this back road you can take. And I'm like, nah, I'll just go to LeGrand and go to the Pizza Hut, and we'll just settle in there as long as we can, wait for the accident. He says, okay, do what you want. I could hear him revving his engine as he ran over 3 elk on his way to, he was headed to Utah, I think. So we sit there, and we start talking about it, and finally, we decide, I don't know why, they're like, let's just go, Dad. If Unky Kevy Cameron can do it, we can. We didn't trust Kevin at all. And we get on this road, and I know exactly where I'm going, and we get down this road, and I can't see a thing. The snow's coming down. I can't keep our little Dodge Caravan on the road. I'm slipping all over. I'm like, there is no way. And I say to Darlene, call Kevin. Make sure we're on the right road. And he's like, yeah, just keep going. It gets better. This is the guy doing 125 passing me. And I'm like, I don't think so. And I keep going. And I come to a complete stop in the middle of the road because I can't see anything. And I say to Darlene, call him again. And he says, trust me, we're on the other side. It's all great. Sure enough, I just kept creeping along. In 10 miles, it opens up. There's a freeway entrance. You get on the freeway. It's like Mad Max Return to Thunderdome. There's nobody on the freeway. It's just me. And sure enough, Kevy was right. Now, I thought at some point it was going to be one of those things where you see on Dateline or something like that, where like family gets stranded, little girls eat fat dad to survive. And you're like, I'm turn around. And I probably would have turned. I couldn't turn around because I couldn't see anyway. I just kept going. Sometimes the way, the path that you're on is the right path, even though it's super hard. It's not time to turn around. It's not time to give up. That may be your marriage. That may be your job. That may be some kind of decision that you're trying to make. I don't know. I can't speak to everybody's path. I do know that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not right. So Paul says this. because life was hard and I didn't understand, and there were so many things going on, but God called me to this thing. He says, so this is what we did. We fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, because what is seen is temporary and what is unseen is eternal. Paul's conclusion was, I refocused my life. What I was concentrating on, what I was hoping for, what I thought the payoff was going to be, doesn't work. So I moved my focus and I refocused my life. The secret to happiness, the secret to being fulfilled isn't solving all your problems. The secret is having something in your life that's bigger than your problems. Because if anyone said, follow Jesus, everything's going to be great, they lied to you. Follow Jesus, you're always going to be happy. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm going to give you 4 quick things about how to have a happy focus. All right? Really quick. Number 1, get talking. First of all, to God. I'm going to throw out some scripture. If one of them's great, just grab hold of it. In their trouble, they called to the Lord, and he saved them from their distress. He brought them out of their gloom and darkness and broke their chains into pieces. If you're having a tough time, if you're struggling, yell out, call out, yell at God if you need to. Get talking. Just start talking about what's going on. Don't start talking on Facebook or Instagram. Just start talking to God. And if you have a trusted friend, start talking to somebody else. Because anxiety weighs down your heart, but kind words cheer it up. If you've got a friend, if you've got somebody close to you, and something's under your bed, something's nagging at you, that you're really struggling, and you're afraid to say it, especially within a Christian environment because you're afraid you're going to get judged, refocus that and talk to somebody. That act of talking diminishes the power of that thing in your life anyway. 2, get serving. When you invest in somebody else, the pain and struggle of your own life diminishes just a little bit. Listen, no churchy, no Bible, just put that all aside right now. When you look at the study and the science of happiness, one of the top things they say, if you want to be happy, do something for somebody else. Jesus was 2 steps ahead of that, though. He said, if you want to be great, be a servant. If you want to be first and like, hey, look at me, be a slave. When you invest in meeting the needs of somebody else, your happiness factor, your fulfillment factor goes up, and your emptiness factor starts to diminish. 3, this is just for fun. Get moving. Get moving. Listen, I know if you're weighed down, you just want to sit. You want to be left alone. You want to sit and do nothing. There's this great verse in the Old Testament that says, laziness wants it all and gets nothing. The energetic have something to show for their life. Just get up and get moving. Like, you haven't exercised in years. Okay, walk to your mailbox and back instead of taking the golf cart. Join a class. Choose a sport that has, you don't have to have much ability or endurance and play pickleball. You know what I'm saying? Look at it. Half the crowd's like, what? It was a joke. That was a joke. I'll leave it out. You want to do something easy and get moving? Go do that CrossFit. It's so easy. There's just weights and stuff and sweat. It's easy. Here's my point. Just move. All the endorphins, all that stuff, it all gets moved. Listen, most of you don't need more information. You just need more motivation, correct? You know that's true. You know that's true. Maybe this is your day to say, okay, I'm going to do something. Finally, get believing. Listen, this ain't some, you'll never be happy unless you know God. Grandma Carlita disagrees with that. She's calling now. Listen, you can be reasonably happy in lots of ways without a faith in Jesus. I don't think you can be permanently content without a faith in Jesus. A faith in Jesus helps you at this moment and in all the moments to come, in this life and the one to come. And if that's a little bit weird for you, I would just challenge you to just sit back and think about that for a second. Because Jesus wasn't just a good dude. Jesus shows up and he says, listen, I'm the way. I'm the truth. I'm the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That if you're wondering what path to be on, and we all, where you work, who you marry, I don't know. But I do know that Jesus is the way to be on. Jesus is the better way. If you're looking for truth and how to find answers, that's Jesus. If you're looking how to live life and be fulfilled and content, that's Jesus. Listen, you're like, you have to say that because you're a pastor. Okay, then you check it out for yourself. And you maybe have bumped into a lot of people who claim to be Jesus followers, and they're not happy and they're miserable, and they make you unhappy and miserable too. Well, they ain't Jesus. They're on their own hedonic treadmill, and they don't have any idea where they're at. Next steps, and we're done. We have these blue cards in the handouts that we give you that we keep track of information. If you're new, we'd love you to fill it out. Normally, it's a blue card. What color is it today? It's white, because we had a mishap, and Kyle had to print all of the cards. That's why when you look at them, it's like, who cut these? Was Kyle drunk when he cut them? Yeah, I did them all. So if you look at them, it was all me. And you can tell by looking at them. The sermon notes, did you see all the splotches on the sermon notes? Anyone? Yeah, no one wants to admit it. Yeah, I did it. It was all me, all right? Normally it's a blue card. It's a white card today. We want you to fill one out. If you're new, fill that out, please. If you've got a prayer request, if you've got a question, please put it on there. But the next steps are on there as well, because we want you to be able to hear and listen, sitting here in Brewster and online, and then do something with what you heard. So here we go. Really quick. Pick one happy action that would change your focus. Now, if you're here and you're like, I am happy. All right. You have something to offer and give and bump into some of us on your way out. But pick one happy action. Do you need to get talking? Do you need to get serving? Do you need to get moving? Do you get believing? You're like, I need them all. Well, don't do them all. Just pick one. Just pick one that you're going to do in the next 48 hours. Just one thing. 2, discuss your level of emptiness with someone you trust, with a friend. This would be a great move for you. Are you frustrated? Are you fatigued? Are you unfulfilled? But speak that out loud. Get that out. Again, to somebody you trust, a friend you trust. Share that with somebody. Are you frustrated, fatigued, unfulfilled? Share that with somebody. And finally, choose to focus on Jesus. It's just the best way, you guys. I know there's lots of religions out there, and there's lots of different things, and there's lots of churches and stuff. But when you boil all that away, what would the real you experience if you stood right in front of the real Jesus? Anything else you've learned, the judgment or the rules or the extra this and don't do that, what you experience would be total love and acceptance, because Jesus offers you. The Bible calls that grace. I know it's a religious word, but the Bible says, listen, the way we become acceptable to God, even though we're all messed up and we're broken and we've got all kinds of regret, and sometimes that turns into shame. We're going to talk about that in the next couple weeks. But all that stuff, the way we become acceptable is through Jesus, because Jesus took our place. Jesus took the penalty of that. Jesus took the punishment of that. The real Jesus, the real historical Jesus, showed up on this earth and died on a cross. We know that to be truth. Now, we believe, because the Bible says, that Jesus didn't stay dead, that he rose from the dead to prove that he could conquer sin and anything else that is in our life. And when you get on the way of Jesus, you become acceptable even though we're unacceptable. Even though we mess up, we don't keep our own standard, we know we don't keep God's standard. So moving in a direction that focuses on Jesus, not on religion, not on church, not on rules, but on Jesus, I just believe it's the best way forward. I was raised in a church that when you talked about being happy, it was kind of poo-pooed, because happiness was worldly. They would talk about joy, right? They talk about the joy of the Lord is their strength, but then when you hung around them, they were just so miserable all the time, except at the potlucks. So talking about happiness, I'm like, I don't think there's a difference, you guys. Joy or happiness may be fleeting, joy may be eternal. I don't know about that. All I know is the only way I found in people through centuries who have walked closely with Jesus, the only way we have found that we start approaching contentment and satisfaction in our hearts is when we connect with Jesus. And if that's joy or that's happiness or contentment, I don't know what it is, but it's something I would hate any of you to miss out on. I pray this is your day that you say, I'm giving my life to Jesus. I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. And Brewster, thanks you guys. Here in Chelan, let's pray together. God, we're thankful for Jesus. It's tough to understand everything, and so much extra has been thrown on the good news, the way of Jesus. And I ask you that, God, that you would push through in our brains and our souls that we understand the love and grace and acceptance that comes with Jesus. Anything else that would get in that way, I ask that that would just evaporate. God, thank you for your goodness. Thank you that you love us, and thank you that you prove both those things through Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Hey, dads, don't forget to get your gift on the way out. Hang out and pick that up. Thanks for being here. Have a great Sunday. See ya. Love ya. Bye.